What if your biggest fears didn't even come from this lifetime and all it took to overcome them was taking that first step? And so, this is another one of my letters to my community, a reflection on fear, past lives, and what happens when we decide to not let it stop us. So, if you want more stories like this, you can subscribe in the link below. All right. A few years ago, I had become aware of a weird and uncomfortable feeling I get when standing on balconies looking down. I never thought myself to be afraid of heights, and at times I wondered if maybe I was just getting older and becoming more aware of my mortality. It wasn't until last year that I was with a friend visiting the South Carolina Museum in Columbia, and we were standing on a third floor balcony, parts of which had a glass bottom. I looked down, whether directly or over the edge, I don't recall, and in addition to the uneasiness that I had come to expect, I felt as though my body was going to be spontaneously thrown off the edge. What an odd feeling. I know that that weird feeling has nothing to do with getting older, nothing to do with being afraid of heights. And in fact, nothing had ever happened to me that would prompt a fear of heights. I grew up in New York City with multiple experiences atop skyscrapers and bridges, and never did I feel like I would be thrown over the edge. These realizations started to indicate to me that this irrational fear was somehow based in past life experiences. Why would this odd fear come on all of a sudden, you might be wondering? What I have learned throughout QHHT is usually when something like an irrational fear or new idiosyncratic behavior pops up at a random time in your life, it's because in another life it wasn't random at all. The age that you started experiencing it in this life is more than likely the age you were when you experienced it in your past life. I digress. After that experience at the museum, I asked my higher self what past life fear this is stemming from. I was shown a scene of myself and my current husband as what I can only describe as cave people standing on the edge of a cliff. The ground gave way beneath us, and we both slid off and died. While this explanation made sense to me at the time, it still feels like there's a bit more to it, and it hasn't really affected me enough that I've continued to dig. And so life goes on. Until this newfound fear of heights presents itself to me again. Let me set the scene for you. It's a rainy, foggy day on top of Grandfather Mountain, North Carolina, more than 5,000 feet up into the clouds. I step out onto a mile high swinging bridge. It's metal, it's slippery, and on this day, you can barely see the other side of it because of the fog. I knew that this would test my resolve, but I wasn't going to let fear stop me. I started to walk out, got about 5 to 7 feet out onto the bridge, and I could feel the sway, see the movement. And my mind, not my body, my mind said, absolutely not. I turned around and walked back off that bridge onto the landing. As I stood there staring at the other side, I could hear the laughter and the joy of the people who had gone before me, having fun and relishing in their experiences. I turned and looked behind me, and there was a man sitting on a rock. I recognized him from when I was walking under the bridge to come up to it, and I had watched as he stepped out, made it about 5 feet, and swiftly turned back around. As I peered behind me, I couldn't help but take solace in the idea that I wasn't the only one who was like, hell no. And at the same time, I thought, he's missing out. I let my husband go ahead of me. I told him to do his thing, take his pictures, have fun, and come back for me. As I watched him go out there to the middle of the bridge, do a little dance like the show off that he is, and peek over the edge, I asked myself, do you really want to be led by your fears? A very simple question for me and a very simple answer. Absolutely not. I watched people, young and old, pass me as I stood to the side, literally on the sidelines of life. I don't think so. However, now the reality of the decision is facing me. How do I get myself to walk across that godforsaken swinging bridge without having a full blown panic attack? I closed my eyes, took a few deep breaths, and visualized myself walking across the bridge with confidence, head held high. A very brief, very impromptu form of self hypnosis, a powerful technique that I probably don't use often enough. After about a minute or two, my husband came back, put his hand out. I grabbed it, and we walked without stopping, without looking. I walked across that bridge. Maybe not as confidently as I had imagined, but nonetheless, I made it to the other side. As I stepped out onto solid ground again, I couldn't help but feel insanely proud of myself. I wish I could tell you that the return trip wasn't as nerve wracking. Making it across wasn't just about overcoming fear in that moment, it was a declaration to myself and the universe that I would not be led by my fears. I will not be stopped. I will not allow fear to dictate my experiences, and I will not sit on the sidelines and let life pass me by. As we made our descent back down the mountain, my fiance or my husband expressed how proud of me he was and said that I inspire him to not let fear stand in his way. I have learned, sometimes begrudgingly, that I can't change anyone. I can only lead by example and hope that it rubs off. And what he said to me is perfect confirmation of that. I believe that if we grow and evolve ourselves, it will ripple out and inspire and help those around us. So I feel extreme appreciation for the one person that might feel inspired by this. One person that can look their fears in the face and say, not today. Whether it's a fear of public speaking, a fear of heights, or a fear of rejection, with a little determination, a little courage, and a little visualization, there's no telling what you can overcome. Overcoming fears, big and small, seems to be a theme happening in my life. Recently, I shared a video where I talked about how working through fear that brought me to tears when went on a solo hike in the woods. I've been shown that when we take steps to overcome and work through things that are holding us back, no matter how small, the universe will conspire. The divine, the higher self supports us and conspires to continue bringing opportunities for growth and expansion. So I encourage you to not shy away from it and instead say, bring it on. I know that you can do it. And I know you will feel amazing on the other side of it. I am confident that I will meet that swinging bridge again one day, and I will step out onto it again. I will cross it again, and maybe one day I'll stop in the middle and do a little show off dance of my own. And so feel free to share this with someone that might need a little bit of um, inspiration today to overcome a fear. It really only takes that one small step, deciding that you will not let fear dictate your experiences and dictate your life. And then maybe, like I said, doing a little visualization, a little self hypnosis in the moment can always help. And if you want to start connecting to the higher self, the part of you that does stand in anchored when fear arises, I have created a higher self activation, which you can also find in the description down below. Let me know what happens when you listen. Listen once and you'll feel the shift. Listen for 21 days and you'll be amazed at how your life begins to change.